They have 12 draft picks. Okay, they've got multiple thirds, fourths. Niners are going to be okay. Okay, Christian McCaffrey, Brandon Ayuk, Jawan Jennings. George Kittle was a Pro Bowler last year. Ricky Pearsall looks like he can play. Brock Purdy's a good distributor. I don't think he's a superstar, but he's a good distributor. Trent Williams, top 3 left tackles, coming back to play one more year. They need rebuilding of their O-line and secondary. I saw a mock draft today where they were taking Will Johnson, the corner from Michigan, who I think is if he goes to the Niners, they just stole. They had the best heist in the first round because I think Will Johnson was banged up. I think Will Johnson's an unbelievable player. And I don't think there are many unbelievable players in this draft. There's about 8. Will Johnson's one of them. So if he falls to the 49ers, and because you have 2 quarterbacks and you got some tight ends clogging up, taking some picks, if Will Johnson falls to the Niners, the draft's a success. He's a great get for them. But Deebo leaving the Niners is a little like Jimmy Butler leaving the Heat. They're both really good players, but it was time. It was time for Jimmy Butler to go, right? They were tired of each other. And Deebo and the 49ers, they're just Brandon Ayuk's chirping. Deebo wasn't happy. Christian McCaffrey got hurt. It's just time to break up the band. And, the dirty little secret about Deebo is, as a wide receiver, he has 1,000-yard season. That was 4 years ago. He gets banged up a lot. He is a great chess piece for a coach who can design the right plays for him. So two things can be true. He's a great fit in Washington, and it was time to go in San Francisco. That's why they drafted. I said this a year ago when they drafted Ricky Pearsall. I said, my take is that's for Deebo. They're getting it. Ricky Pearsall's not going to beat anybody down the field. He's a chess piece. You can put him in the slot. You put him in motion. Ricky Pearsall's he's like a poor man, a poor man's Deebo a little bit. And I think Ricky Pearsall had that, the gun situation last year where he got shot. So his season this year will start off with more inertia and more momentum and more optimism and better health. So, but Jimmy, the Bay Area got a guy that was tired of his environment, and they're moving off a guy that got tired of his environment. And that's okay. But when you have 12 draft picks and you have multiple thirds and multiple fourths, it may not be a great draft, but I trust John Lynch to hit on 65, 70% of the draft picks. They need an offensive tackle to replace Trent Williams eventually. They need a cornerback. I go back to the O-line, probably need a safety, a linebacker. Greenlaw's expensive. You don't want to get rid of Fred Warner. So they've got obvious needs. And most of the things they need in the draft are available. I'd draft another running back behind Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, listen. I wish rebuild in sports wasn't so charged of a word. Because people really think that means, a rebuild is just you have to just slash everything, get rid of everyone, or that you're going to be bad for 2, 3, 4 years. But the 49ers, and I'll probably just try to use the word rework, they're reworking their team. And I do believe in how well run the 49ers are. And I think especially if you're going to be moving forward with Brock Purdy, which all reports point to that they are, you need to get younger and healthier and more consistent in terms of the reliability of players. And someone like a Deebo is no longer that reliable. And I wish I brought that up in my Commanders video, because that is a concern that I have. And I think when you have weapons like a Deebo or a Christian McCaffrey that become so important to an offensive identity and how it's run, that when you have those pieces going in and out of the lineup, it's incredibly frustrating. It's incredibly difficult. I think actually probably one of the best examples of this is like Joel Embiid in the Sixers or something. Someone who is such a important piece on a team. Maybe I should just use the Golden State Warriors, Steph Curry. Maybe that's a better example. It's such a impactful player that if you keep having this player on and off, it's really hard for everyone else to kind of get situated. It's hard on the coaching. It's hard on the players. It's hard on the game planning. It's hard on game management. And so when you have someone like that and their attitude and their energy, it's just it's time to move on. And I think especially since you're moving forward with Brock Purdy, you want this team to take on the identity of Brock Purdy. That's the culture that you want. He has the ability to kind of bring that presence. And again, combined with the Shanahan. And I love what they're going to now do defensively. Because I think if you have someone like a Robert Saleh, you're going to have someone who's going to be coaching like his hair is on fire. Like, it's not going to be one of those things where it's like he's going to kind of question himself and have a little bit of doubt. Like, he knows what he can bring defensively, and now it's all he has to focus on. He doesn't got to focus on anything. He doesn't got to talk to owners and the media and this or that. I mean, obviously he does to a degree, but not like you do as a head coach, especially in the tire fire of the New York Jets. And I just feel like this team is just gonna. I feel like the defense for the 49ers is going to be ripped, by Saleh, and get put in and force them to fall in line, which is exactly what Fangio did with the Philadelphia Eagles. There's just going to be such a degree of I can't think of the word right now, but there's just going to be such a degree of intentionality with this defense and discipline and accountability. That's the word that I'm looking for. An accountability that I don't think we saw, and something that Shanahan does struggle to ensure happens with his teams. Obviously, he's the offensive side of the ball, but he is the head coach. And so it still is up to him to find a way, whether it's through the coordinators, whether it's through team meetings, like whatever it is, and that he's kind of failed a little bit to do, especially this past year. And so I just think that that's something with a Robert Saleh that now a Shanahan doesn't have to worry about the defense at all. There's no other extra conversations that need to be had, right? It's really just like, you 100% got the defense, and I know you're going to do everything that needs to be done. I don't got to really even remotely worry about this. Just like Andy has with Spags, just like the Eagles had with Fangio. And that matters. I mean, that really does matter. When you can just completely just trust one side of the ball from not only how you go about practices, how you develop younger players, the decisions that you make going into a game, the decisions that you make in a game, halftime, third quarter, fourth quarter, whatever it is, having that degree of trust and accountability is awesome. And if there are mistakes, knowing that the person can figure their way through it, or that you can have conversations, that you don't have to now question, is this person competent? Because of course he's going to make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. Every coach makes mistakes. Andy makes mistakes. Spags, Fangio, whatever. But it can now be a discussion. It could be like, hey, you did this. What were you thinking? Like, it's just rather than being like, oh man, is this guy competent or did he just make a mistake? Again, you see this in sports all the time. You see someone make an error, and you kind of have when someone makes an error, you kind of have a point where you're like, well, is this person just not good enough, or did they just make a mistake? And that's what it gets boiled down to. Are they good enough, or did they just make a mistake? And when you have the degree of confidence that they are good enough, and it was just a mistake, or it was just a wrong decision, so much more easier to move forward. But if you're constantly trying to evaluate, well, is this person even good enough for the job? Makes everything messier. And so I think that's where they have the stability now that this 49ers team should hopefully have going into the, especially this season. And so, yeah, I think moving off of Deebo, trying to let go of some of the inconsistency on the offensive side of the ball as well, having players who are going to, are in it for the team, are going to be cheaper, healthier, younger, more likely to play than not, rather than more likely to not play than play. Like, it's just, I think they need to kind of get this, reliability, accountability, and sustainability, a lot of ease, that I think that the 49ers specifically were lacking last season. And again, they dealt with a ton of injuries, which I defended them for, but I think it also, though, highlights the importance of what they need moving forward. So I almost think that last season is actually a big positive. And again, the Eagles continue to be such a great example for so many different teams, because the Eagles kind of really went through kind of a little bit of everything that you can go through in the NFL over the last few years. And you could see them kind of come out of nowhere, become a Super Bowl contender, lose the Super Bowl, make some decisions, have things go terribly wrong, and then the next year make awesome decisions and win the Super Bowl. And to me, that year in 23 really highlighted some of the issues that the Eagles had. It highlighted the coordinating issues. It highlighted the lack of defensive pieces that they needed. It lacked the accountability on defense and the importance of the accountability for a defensive head coach. It lacked the imagination and the intentionality for the offense of having an offensive coordinator who knows, how to do that. And because those issues were so glaring, like it becomes so much more easier to resolve, make easier decisions. And it's to me, the 49ers are now in a situation where they have a lot of no-brainer decisions to make. Like, because Colin's saying, oh, they need this, they need that. And my mind's kind of like, well, yeah, no duh. And that's actually a great place to be in. When you're in a no duh like thing, it's kind of hard to mess up. And when you already are a well-run franchise, it's like, great. You trust now that the powers that be are going to make those right decisions. So I don't know what the overreaction is from the 49ers. Are 49ers fans upset? I haven't seen an overreaction. Please, if you guys are seeing a lot of 49ers fans upset about that, or the local media or maybe national media or whatnot, definitely let me know, because I think this is a good thing for the 49ers. And I think right now the 49ers, I don't think their mentality right now is like, okay, we're just an off season away from being, Super Bowl winners or something. It's more kind of like, no, we're trying to build something. We're trying to build our next 5 years, essentially. We had our run of 2018 onward, and now we're trying to figure out what pieces of this deck are kind of rotted and kind of messed up that we have to rip up, and which new places, which new spots need, some new wood, rather than just kind of tear down everything. And so to me, it's, again, I kind of put this team now on my, my infamous 1 to 3 year timeline, where it's kind of like, I expect the 49ers to be significantly better and be like legitimate, threats. But I'm looking at it more on like a 1 to 3 year timeline, where I'm like, what decisions are you making right now that will make you truly bona fide, where if you're going to be really upset if they don't win or reach another Super Bowl within the next few years. And again, that could be going into this season as well, but there's a lot of decisions that they need to make, that it is kind of a wait and see. And again, make no mistake about it, the Philadelphia Eagles, they needed to plan for the immediate moment as well as the future. And because of that, they were able to seamlessly move on from Kelsey and get Cam Jurgens at the center, right? They drafted their backups and said, hey, we got our stars still here. We still need to make moves to make us still competitive right now, but we also need to figure out which pieces of wood do we need to rip out eventually and replace. And we already bought the wood. We got to buy the wood. We got to have it ready. Because of that, again, it directly led to a Super Bowl. So that's why I'm kind of curious to see kind of how the 49ers kind of handle this, rather than being like, no, we were just in the Super Bowl a year ago and we almost won a Super Bowl in 2019 and 22. We got to do everything we can right now. We got to win tomorrow. Let's go. It's kind of like, no, you got to make some legitimate decisions to start to win now, but also still kind of see what's down the road a little bit. So, yeah, I think it's all good, quite frankly. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the 49ers trading Deebo to the Commanders? Do you think it was the right time to move off of Deebo? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.